Well, what is this? What is this? What is this? What's happening, people? How you doing? Where everybody at? Where you at? Where you at? Yeah. Mama say, mama sama, mama sa. We talking about some things. Oh. I see. What's happening? Oh, I love you too, girl. What your name is? Show me love. Show me love. Show me love. Oh, folks, I've been running. I am definitely running today. There's so much going on. I've been kind of in and out myself. So I'm just kind of getting into some things here. I'm just kind of getting into some things here. We're getting closer, folks. We're getting closer, and as we get closer, I'm starting to feel a little bit of a desperation. I feel like it's time for us to take action. You know, we keep talking about what we can do, and I think it's time that we kind of take things. I have to put my chain out. I feel better. The chain's hot up against my skin. It's time that we do some things, and I think what we need to do is we need to focus on getting this back and just being more into it. And part of that I'm going to talk about a little bit. I'm going to talk about this, that, and the other. I think it's time to become a little bit more radical. I think it's time for us to say goodbye to some folks that's been around a little too long. I think it's time for us to really start talking seriously about term limits. You know, we have a mechanism in place for president, but we need to have something in place for some of these Congress folks. They've gotten too comfortable and they're not doing what we asked them to do. What we basically what we need them to do, what we elected them to do. So I think it's time for us to look at not just term limits, but us having more of a say on who gets in what and who have some of these leadership positions. Just like we elect a president, we need to have some say so in things like the pro temp in the Senate and Speaker of the House and the President of the Senate and the majority leaders and so forth and so on. And we have to start putting pressure. But I'll get into that. This is supposed to be the fun part of the show. This is where I'm supposed to give you my little ridiculous warm up and offer you a drink. I decided I was going to take a detour. You know me, I'm a bougie bourbon kind of guy, but I was thinking about my dad, and I know it was just Mother's Day, but I was thinking about my dad. My dad was a Scotch man, so he was into all of the Scotches, the single malts, and what have you. So I bought a couple bottles of Scotch in honor of him, and I basically never touch them. But meanwhile, my bougie bourbon behind, I will put a hurt on some bourbon. So tonight, in honor of my dad, I'm drinking a little Scotch. So Dad, this one's for you. Henry Batiste Sr. Oh, you didn't know I was a junior? Oh yeah, most deaf. I couldn't get this fabulous all by myself, you know. It was the genes that I was handed down. So if you're gonna get a hand me down, make it be about something. So my dad was a hell of a guy. He was kind of low key and everything. We move in almost into Father's Day, and we always talk about our mothers, but I don't always give my dad enough. You know, first of all, he was smart enough to pick my mama. And he literally picked her and had to convince her that he was the guy for her. So my dad wasn't no fool. And my dad just did so much. He did so much. He did so much in the community. My dad had a reputation. He worked public service for 32 years. And he had such a reputation. If he brought somebody by, if he recommended somebody, they were hired, you know. So it really came down to who you knew back then, and knowing my dad was a big thing. So I'm gonna get into a little of this, that, and the other, but I wanted to say I appreciate you guys. I really do. Sometimes I feel a little melancholy because I absorb other people's pain. A lot of times the things that I portray to you is not necessarily something that I am going through personally. It's something that I feel in the atmosphere. It's something that one of my friends or somebody that I know has told me or shared with me. And I take it on. And the bad thing about that is, I guess, it leaves me with other people suffering and pain. So I don't know. I feel that melancholy. I feel that pain. I feel that stress. I feel all of that. And if you know me, you know that I care. That's why I do what I do. I've been offered sponsorship, and I've shied away from that mainly because I don't want to be, and I said this before, but I don't want to be like a rapper with his or her first um, record deal. They buy the show from me, they pay me to do the show, and then they slowly but surely push me out, and I don't want that. I like having the liberty, the latitude to say what I want, how I want, and when I want. And when I see it come to fruition and be expressed in the rest of the media, I kind of feel, well, I say that first. Case in point, I saw something this week where other media outlets and channels are starting to talk about Manchin and calling him a closet trumpublican or Republican in so many words. Some of them have used terms like, the Democrats having a false majority in the Senate because he never acted like a Democrat. I said that first. So it's 4 past the half hour. I'm going to give it about another minute. Give a couple people a chance to come on in, get your seat. Sit yourself down and take a seat. The man is going to get into it here in a minute. Folks, we're getting close. 180 days. 180 days. 180 days to midterm election. And I've been having conversations with people from all walks of life just to try to get my finger on the pulse of how people are feeling and what they're thinking and so forth and so on. And one of the most disheartening conversations came from my 44-year-old son, Henry Baptiste III. And he's not named after me. And I always tell him, you're not named after me. I always said if I had a son, I would name him after my dad in honor of my father. So I'm talking to my son and we're talking indirectly. And my son tries to steer away from politics, and he really tries to steer away from having a conversation with me about politics. But he says, Dad, I try not to be into it until it affects me. I'm like, son, it affects you each and every day. He says, but I'm just ready for a change. And I'm trying to talk to him about the same things that I talk to you guys about, and what I see on the horizon when we have a change in the political landscape. And he says, well, you know what? If it's going to bring inflation down, he said, because there's 63% markup on new cars and what have you. And I'm like, I understand what you're saying, but all of this is by design. You know what I mean? And it struck a chord in me. So with that chord being struck in me, I decided to kind of revisit understanding the assignment, because sometimes as voters, we don't understand what it is we're supposed to do. We think we just show up one day and check a box, pull a lever, however you vote, mail in a ballot, and our work is done. No, nothing is further from the truth. Actually, that's when the work just starts. And what this Democratic majority has shown us in the last it seems like it's 4 years, but it's only been a year and a half, if you can believe that. What it has shown us is it's not about Democrat or Republican. It's not about Pelosi or McCarthy or Trump or Biden. What it's about is America providing oversight. So this week, as I talk about understanding the assignment, we're talking about taking our country back. And that's what we should be talking about. After we vote, there's part of holding people accountable and providing oversight. And we are, if you will, we are said oversight. So tonight I'm going to talk a little bit about that. Wow, I went off on a tangent for 3 minutes. I want to say good evening and welcome to the show. I want to thank you guys for tuning in tonight. As I said, tonight and every Thursday night, I am truly humbled of all the things you could be doing. You choose to be here with me. My name is Hank Batiste. My show is called OMITDALOGIC. This shit makes no sense. I'm your host tonight, and the voices in my head are saddened, disheartened, and they are in awe. And I'll tell you why. I hate cliffhangers, but I don't want to go off on a tangent right now. This week, we see more drama coming from some key, or what they call swing states, primaries. One case in point is Pennsylvania. Right now, in the Republican primary, we see these two guys that were going head to head, and one of them was supported by Trump. And there's this black woman, and her name isn't Candace, and her last name doesn't start with an O. Her last name, well, her initials are KB. And she's been known to say some things just because. And I hate when people of color take the easy way out and they decide to dump on us just to make way with other people. So her being the person that she is, it seems that she has some influence, and she came out of nowhere, and I think she's closing in on the both of them. So now she's gained Trump's attention, so much so that she's gained his ire. So he says that she has no way, and I don't care who on the Republican side wins the primary, as long as the Dem wins the general election. So the process says, early in the season, you have these primary elections. If you remember back, during the primary, you had Hillary Clinton and you had Barack Obama. And then at the end of the primary, Barack received the most votes and was awarded the ticket as the Democratic president. So that's what's happening right now. So again, before I get into anything else, I'm going to do two things. I'm going to urge you to go to my YouTube page and subscribe. Give me a thumbs up and ring the bell so that you know when I'm not on Facebook. You can get a hold of some of this stuff over here. And I see I got a couple new voices on Facebook. Last week I had some people on Facebook that came by just to heckle me. And Ali used to say, half of the people show up to see me win, the other half show up to try to see me get whooped. He said, but the good thing about that is both halves pay. So I don't mind this. I don't mind when I have negative voices. And I'm not here to try to sway everybody. And I had this conversation with my son. I'm not trying to get you to do what I do or think like I think. What I'm trying to do is educate you on the process, how these political politricks games are played. And what I'm also trying to do is get you to understand that in the game of chess, sometimes you have to sacrifice some things in order to win in the end. So that's where we are, folks. I don't mind you guys giving me feedback. When you go to my YouTube, and you give me a thumbs up, give me feedback as well. You don't have to, give me all of these glorious affirmations. If there's something you don't agree with, let's start a conversation about it. And that's the whole thing. I learn from you just like you learn from me. What I learn a lot of times is the things that are important to me is not always as important to you. Because I see things from a more global perspective. What's good for the many should be good for the few. People have a tendency to vote their pocketbooks and their heart because they see things on a more personal level. And this is the conversation that I had with my son. And it did me so much good because I see this young man that says, whether you know it or not, you have a lot going on. So don't shy away from it because it affects you each and every day. So as I went off on that tangent, I want to say again, this week we see things happen in states like Pennsylvania. We also see what this whole thing where the Supreme Court basically barreling down and refusing to listen to America. The most entertaining thing I saw this week was Clarence Thomas, of all people, had the audacity, the unmitigated gall, as old people say, he had the nerve to show up and say that the Supreme Court will not be bullied. America has to get used to when things don't go their way. And I said, you ever tried saying that to your wife? Oh, obviously not. Because her behind was one of the conspirators, so we hear, calling people on January the 6th and telling them to do this and do that, and even beforehand. So she inserted herself in the coup d'etat. The insurgents, the insurrection. It was a coup d'etat, folks, and the coup continues. So don't fool yourself. And this is what I left my son with. This is chess. It's not checkers. We also see Pelosi, and people keep saying you don't like Pelosi. I could give a rat's bottom. I'm trying not to cuss people. I really am. I could give a rat's rectum about Pelosi. But when you have been elected to lead, I don't care who you are. I'm going to hold your feet to the fire because as an administrator, that's what I did for some 40-something years. If you work for me, and make no two bones about it, they work for us. So it's up to us to hold their feet to the fire. It's up to us to tell them how we expect them to behave. It's up to us to hold them accountable. So, with that being said, folks, I'm going to talk about a few things tonight. I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about the reason I feel so saddened. But I think it's time to shake up the republic. So tonight's show is called Understand the Assignment. Let's shake up the republic. Now, what I wanted to say was something else. I didn't want to say shake up. I wanted to say let's tear it apart. But I didn't want it to be misunderstood and misconstrued and me being banned here and there. So shaking up the republic means we're going to do some things differently. Tonight's show is called Understand the Assignment. Shake up the republic. This is how we take our country back. My name is Hank Batiste. This is OMITDALOGIC. This shit makes no sense, but we're going to make sense of it. We're going to make it make sense. Let's do this. First up, 180 days to midterm elections. And I keep saying this. I said it last week. I said it the week before. I'm more stressed by these midterm elections because this midterm elections has ramifications that's going to reverberate. And when I use terms like reverberate, I want you to think of a pebble dropping in a pond and you see those ripples. Reverberate just means that ripple effect. So the ripple effects of 2022 is going to reverberate or carry on into the 2024 election, and probably for the next 6 years. It's going to take about 6 years for that pendulum to swing back. So I said this to my son, and I'm saying this to you. If you think this is bad, let them fools get back in control, especially if they have that orange, despicable, delusional man at the top. And what we have now will pale in comparison. So we need to stick, like the old people say, with the devil that we know. And let's make these Dems do what we need them to do. Let's light a fire under these DIMs. Because right now, there's a light on, but it's shining so poorly, so dim. So the Democrats are now the DIMocratics. Okay? 180 days to midterm elections. Let's stick with the devil we know, like the old people. I'm using some old people sense now. My mom used to say, you don't get to be old being no fool. And I ride up and down the street some days and I said, Mom, you were right about a lot of things. But I think on this one, I see a lot of old foolish people. So let's stick with the devil we know and hold their feet to the fire. Taking back this country, I think we, the people, have to have more of a say about who our leadership is. Just like we vote for a president, when it comes time for the Democrats or the Republicans to have a Speaker of the House or to have a majority leader or to have a pro temp or to have any of these leadership positions, what we've learned in the last 18, 19 months is it doesn't matter who the leader is if they are not leading effectively. So when people say I don't like Nancy Pelosi, it has nothing to do with Pelosi the person. What it has to do with not policing yourself. When you are more in tune to trading on Wall Street, you've traded the American people for your portfolio. So Pelosi needs to go. when it comes to Chuck Schumer, Schumer needs to go. If you can't do what it needs to be done to get the Senate in check, why in heaven's name, and that's as simply as I could put it, and trust me, I had better choice words, but why in heaven's name is Joe Manchin still on the roll as a Democrat? I only looked at two people. One of them is the majority leader of this fake majority that we have in the Senate by the name of Charles or Chuck Schumer. Maybe we need to get rid of Chuck. Maybe if Charles show up, we'll have better, I don't know. I don't want to call it luck, because all it takes is you doing what we elected you to do. If you do that, then we'll be all right. But I think it's time to shake up the republic, and part of that in taking our country back is we, the people, having more of the voice in who leads us. I have to go off on a tangent for just a minute. I always give you a historical perspective, and I'm going to revisit this for just a minute. We call this a democracy, but it's not truly a democracy. It is a hybrid. It is really a republic, because in a democracy, majority wins. In a republic, we elect people to run the country for us. The people that we have elected thus far have been there so long that they're looking out for themselves more than they are for the country. Like I said with Pelosi, they've traded us for their own portfolios, for their own finances, and bettering themselves for their own political aspirations, and so forth and so on. So McCarthy, McConnell, Schumer, Pelosi, and others. This week I saw Elizabeth Warren. All of a sudden she's trying to make a little noise, because now it's obvious that Biden isn't going to get a second term. So all of a sudden she wants to jump up and jump on the bandwagon with Roe v. Wade. And she wants that to be where she can grab the mic. No. I'm going to say this, and if you repeat it, I'm going to emphatically deny it, even if I have it on video. I was wrong. I was right about one thing. I was right about Joe Biden was the person that could beat Donald Trump. But I was wrong when I thought the Joe Biden we would get was the attack dog that got things done for Barack Obama. What we're getting is the old Joe Biden who wants to be back in the Senate and pretending like everybody that's on the Hill is his friend, and he doesn't want to make any political enemies. As a leader, heavy is a head that wears the crown, simply means when you are in charge, you have to behave like you're in charge. It's not about being liked, it's about being respected, and it's about getting things done. So I'm going to say, in another couple of years, we know Biden's on his way out. But we need to use the devil that we have to get the things done. He has great ideas, but he's not been able to follow through on them. Pelosi talks a good talk, but it's all flash and no substance. Schumer, sometimes I even wonder if the dude's in the Senate. So 180 days to the midterm elections. It doesn't mean that we abandon ship and get rid of the Dems. It means that we have to stick with the Democratic majority and do more to increase it. And then we have to insist on us having a say in who those leaders are in both the Senate and the House. That's all I got to say about that. Moving on. Supreme Court, they have let, after this thing has leaked and you hear all of this stuff about Alito this and Alito that and Samuel this and Biden saying go in front of the houses and picket and all of this other stuff. Too little, too late. You have the ability as president, even if you do it only momentarily, to stack the Supreme Court, as Mitch McConnell did. But see, they anticipated, this is where the chess comes in versus the checkers. McConnell anticipated the Democrats stacking the Supreme Court to bring balance back to the Supreme Court. So he played on Biden's need for recognition and wanting to be Mr. Bipartisan and everybody play nicely. No, if they don't play nice, kick their ass out the sandbox. So you have the ability to put some more quote unquote liberal people on there. I call it non-biased people because it's obvious that the people that were handpicked by Mitch McConnell and nominated by Donald Trump, 3 people, folks, 3 people in 4 years, unfreaking real. Now we're sending Judge Brown Jackson up there, and she can't do it all by herself. She can't. So how the Helen of Troy can Clarence Thomas sit up and talk about not being bullied and saying we the American people need to accept things? Your ass should have been impeached and you shouldn't even be on the Supreme Court because you've already proven without a shadow of a doubt in my mind that you're compromised. And you're representing the needs and wants of Virginia Jenny Thomas. So let's call it for what it is. Biden says go out and picket in front of their houses and this, that, and the other. How about you get off your duff and you put some more people there? Even if it takes getting them through. I'm done with it. Moving on. Taking our country back now. Taking our country back now. Taking our country back now. Pelosi has to go. She's ineffective. It doesn't mean first of all, we have to make sure that we keep a majority in the House of Representatives. So all you people that's feeling disheartened, all of you people that's pissed off, and I'm pissed off too. I'm pissed off to the utmost of pissosity and beyond. Don't misunderstand. Because I talk about these folks, of course I'm talking about the lesser of many, many evils. But I know what's going to happen if the trumpublicans get a majority. So I'm saying, let's deal with what we got. What pissed me off today, what made my top blow today was to turn on the TV and I see that Congress, now Nancy didn't stand up. When there's something glorifying and sunny, you see her in front of the mic. We hear that Congress, the Congressional January 6th Investigation Committee, is subpoenaing has handed out subpoenas for 5 Trumpublicans. Kevin McCarthy, Jim Jordan from the state of Ohio. Did you know McCarthy was from California? Did you guys know that? Mo Brooks, I call him Mo Howard, He moved. Oh, wise guy. More Howard from Alabama. Andy Bigg from Arizona. And Scott Perry from Pennsylvania. They subpoenaed these 5 people to have them testify about what they knew. Here's what insulted my intelligence. Here's what pissed me off to the utmost of pissosity and beyond. If you could not get Merrick Garland, who incidentally, I was pondering last week, and I said Merrick Garland was the person that Barack Hussein Obama, nominated for the Supreme Court. Now Merrick Garland is the United States Attorney General, and he's done nothing. He hasn't arrested anyone. I'm making sure he didn't come to arrest my boy. He hasn't arrested anyone. If you couldn't get Merrick Garland off of his Attorney General ass to hold Bannon, Dick Bannon, probably the most racist person since David Duke, and before George Wallace had an epiphany. If you cannot get Merrick Garland off of his ass to bring charges against Dick Bannon, what makes you think that we believe that something is going to come out this inept congressional investigation with 5 trumpublicans with congressional pins on their lapels? If you couldn't get Dick Bannon and the 5 Trump disciples to the table, it's been since January, and all of those folks are walking around free as a bird. Nobody's paid a fine. Nobody spent one night in jail, contempt of Congress, nothing. So if you couldn't get your Attorney General, Mr. President, Congress, to do anything with Dick Bannon and those other Trump disciples, why are you pulling out chain 180 days before the election of trying to bring these 5 people in front of the Congressional Investigation Committee, as you put it? 2 of the Trump children supposedly have testified. We've heard nothing about that. None of them have been charged. Nobody has been held accountable. Folks, let me move on. I'm pissed. Does it show? I'm pissed because I know you're pissed. You're pissed because they're not doing anything. And the only way to make them do things is, A, we need to look at term limits, and B, we need to look at taking our country back, holding their feet to the fire, holding them accountable. Let's move. I'm saddened and in awe. And this is the last thing I'm going to talk about. I wanted to talk a little bit about inflation and say I told you so, and said that when wages went up, everything else was going to go up exponentially. And we see that. But that's being exacerbated by the fact that we have droughts from the Midwest to the West Coast. We have climate change that has turned soil that was once vibrant for growing things to looking like a desert. We have wildfires that just ate up $1 million houses in Laguna Hill. This is Florida. Florida is supposed to be as tropical as we can get in America. This has been the driest April. If it rained twice during the month of April, remember we were kids, we used to say, April showers bring me flowers? If it's rained twice in Daytona Beach, in Florida, in April, that was one time more than it actually rained. Today it rained for maybe 15 minutes. So if Florida is dry, and we're right here on the Atlantic Ocean, if Florida is dry, and we're right here on the Gulf of Mexico, I could just imagine what's happening in the Midwest, in places like Kansas and Arkansas, in Missouri, in some of these inflation is a direct result of wages going up. That's to be expected because we have congressmen who are invested in companies, and then they allow those companies to raise their prices because it directly affects not only their portfolio, but their bottom line. Now they see this huge return on their investment. Don't make me teach a business 101 because I can do that too. But I had to touch on that. But I'm saddened and awe because today we crossed a milestone. We're trying to pretend like COVID is no more. But today, over 1 million people have died of the coronavirus, of COVID, however they want to dress it up. I don't care. Every time they change the name, they're still calling it COVID-19. This thing has mutated as viruses do, and over 1 million people have died. And I think about all those people that have died, and I shake my head. So I wanted to close the show out tonight, remembering those people. Of all you people out there that support me, I know you've lost some loved ones as well. What's crazy is, and I'm just going to share this and I'm going to close it out. I had a first cousin, Clifford. In 2019, I was having problems with kidney stones. Cliff was a single amputee dealing with diabetes. His right leg was amputated just below the knee. And while I was whining and complaining about having to go through these procedures to remove these kidney stones, I had triplets. They say kidney stones is the closest a man can come to having a baby. I said, if that's what it feels like, my hat is off to every woman that ever bore a child. I rode on an ambulance. I saw a woman drop a 10-pound baby, and we had to make her get back in the bed. And I said, wow, you're a hell of a woman, but I want to meet your man. But I said, if kidney stones is anything like having a baby and I was a woman, I wouldn't even kiss a man. I wouldn't kiss another woman. So I'm whining and complaining about the pain. These triplets, I call them, I have 1 kidney stone on the right and 2 on the left. And it took 3 procedures. Now, if you know enough about me, you know that I spent 40 years in radiology. Well, in medicine. I was in radiology from 1988. I take that back. From 1982. Shortly after, because I started in the Marine Corps, and so 40 years in radiology. And that time I bought probably 3 or 4 lithotripsy machines. A lithotripsy is where they use the ultrasounds to break up those kidney stones so that you can pass them. Well, my stones were So the lithotripsy wouldn't work. So I had to have surgical procedures to have these kidney stones removed. And there ain't but one way to get to the kidneys without drilling a hole in your back. And let me tell you, I'm going to leave it right there. But while I'm whining, I'm constantly hearing my mother's voice. My mom used to say, son, when you think you got it bad, look around and you see people in a whole lot worse shape. So while I'm complaining about my kidney stones, my cousin Cliff lives in Minneapolis, or lived in Minneapolis. And he was complaining about having these pneumonias. And the hospital couldn't figure out where it was coming from. So in August of 2019, my cousin succumbed to pneumonia, they say secondary to diabetes. Now that we look back, remember, we didn't have our first case of diagnosed COVID until early 2020 that I know of. But looking back, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out my cousin probably died of COVID. And when they talk about 1 million people dying of COVID or the coronavirus, I said my cousin was misdiagnosed and his death certificate says something different. And I've been saying all along the numbers as they set, and I purposely don't talk about this because I was issued a warning about spreading false information. But now that another major media network has said it, without already said, 1 million people that we know of, which means the number could be much higher. So I want to close this show out on a somber note. And I want to remind you that COVID hasn't gone anywhere. And I want to remind you that as it starts to get cold again, we're going to have another mutation because we just had a mutation. We're going to have another mutation. So people, be steadfast. If you have quote unquote underlying conditions, if you have any autoimmune disease, if you have diabetes, if you have any smoke, if you're obese, if you have any of these problems, protect yourself. I want to see you here next Thursday, and the Thursday after that, and the Thursday after that. More importantly, the people that you care about, the people that you love, I want you to be able to see them each and every day. So that's all I got for you tonight. I will see you here, God's grace, next Thursday. Same Baptiste time, same Baptiste place. Go to my YouTube. As simple as this. Put in OMITDALOGIC right there. That's the name of my YouTube channel. Go to my YouTube, subscribe. Give me a thumbs up. Ring the bell. Share it with other folks. I'll see you here next Thursday. Same Baptiste time, same Baptiste place. I love you. Ain't a damn thing you could do about it. As always important, I wish you love. I wish you peace. I got a great spot coming right there. Y'all see that? Hair grease. I'm out of here. Good night, people. Much love. I love you too, gal. Keep on giving me hearts. Keep on. Hold on. Why is she the only one giving me hearts? Why? Come on. Show a brother love. Show a brother love. What? Say what? Just because I said good night don't mean you can't love me. Give me some love. Ooh, girl. Ooh, girl. Look. Don't make me. Why you laughing? It ain't funny. Give me love. Give me love. Give me love. Give me love. Good night, people. Oh, one little cheesy heart over here. Come on, give me love. All right. Oh, I hear you, Jan Tifa. I hear you, Jan Tifa. I hear you, Jan Tifa. As always, you two, you people, you people, you people. What's up? Much love. I'm out of here. Good night.